Welcome, everybody. It's Monday. This is the Horn Takes podcast, your very rough around the edges Texas sports talk destination. I'm your host, Sean Redfern. It's Halloween Eve. It's Exaggeration Monday. Y'all know what Exaggeration Monday is about. We're going to get Drunk Sean's thoughts on the game. This is all my thoughts on the game from just watching the game on Saturday. I have not watched a replay yet of this game. So it's just a lot of brain dump, a lot of emotional stuff, I think you guys get the point. And then we'll do some random college football thoughts. Check us out on Twitter, TikTok, and YouTube at Horn Takes. Appreciate it if you guys follow and subscribe. Won't cost you guys a thing. Appreciate the support there. If you just like to listen to podcasts, maybe you got a job where you drive around a lot. Maybe you just like to sit at home. I don't know. Maybe you sit at your desk at work and listen to podcasts. Check us out on horntakespodcast.buzzsprout.com, or you can find us anywhere you listen to podcasts at Horn Takes. Exaggeration Monday. Just some general thoughts on the game before we kind of break down offense, defense, special forces. Unremarkable 4-touchdown wins are fine. In fact, I think they're really good. You looked at that game on Saturday. There was nothing really remarkable about that win. It was just kind of was. The team was there. They showed up. They played the game. They won the game. Every game doesn't have to be like this perfect blowout. In fact, very, very rarely are you going to have games where it's just like a perfect blowout. I kind of felt like this game was a little Bama-esque. Lots of defense. Kind of a shaky start offensively. And when I say Bama-esque, I'm not talking about like the Bama glory years where they just ran everybody over. I'm talking about like Alabama this year. Lots of good defense, shaky start offensively, and then big plays in all three phases. I knew it was coming. We talked about it on Sean's 4 big questions of the day, 4 big questions of the game last week. We talked about, is Steve Sarkisian going to change up his game plan? Is he going to do anything different? Because Malik Murphy is a starting quarterback this week. And as you know, it was a question. I think it was a good question, but the more and more we talked about it, the more and more I came to grips with the fact that Steve Sarkisian's not changing anything. He's going to do what he wants to do offensively. But I almost could not believe the play selection as that game started. I get it, man. We even said, man, you got to get Malik Murphy comfortable. Well, we thought there was a few ways to do that. We thought you could run the ball and do that. We thought you could get some quick throws in and do that. And probably the best thing to do is to try to stay a little bit balanced in there and do both. You could do both of those at the same time. But Sark just went straight pass happy at the beginning of that game. Almost no runs through the first couple drives. And I think sometimes these smart guys, these smart offensive guys, smart guys in period, just in general, kind of have a tendency sometimes to just overthink it. I can't think of anything that's more friendly for a quarterback in his first start ever at the collegiate level than just being able to go run the football. Just run it down their throat, get some early points, and that's how you take pressure off, guys. Even my wife was like, why are we throwing so much with the backup quarterback when we have Jonathan Brooks? So I'm not trying to be critical there. I just think it's funny. It's not funny. It's funny to me a little bit that, Stark continuously says we're a running team. And he says that. We're a running team. I don't know what he means by that. I know what I think being a running team means. And my definition of being a running team is not pass to start a game out with your backup quarterback. Saw somebody on Twitter say Sark needs to bring in an OC. This is it's just breaking point, right? I think that's like a massive overreaction. I don't think Sark needs to bring in an offensive coordinator. But I have been critical of his clock management. I've been critical of his situational awareness. And again, this strange need to pass, like, no matter what. All the time. It's just weird to me. But that conversation, that Twitter tweet, or whatever they're called now, that Zeet, it did kind of make me wonder, what's next for AJ Milwee? Is there any kind of plans for AJ Milwee to sort of move up into a play calling type role? I bet you AJ Milwee wants to call plays at some point. It's kind of an interesting question. Like, at what point does a guy like Steve Sarkisian, who's still relatively young, I mean, he could conceivably coach for another 30 years easily. Let's say 25 years. Let's say 25 years easily. But there have been guys that have coached well up into their late 70s and 80s. So he's got a long time to coach. At some point, do you think, maybe he just wants to be the head coach? He doesn't want to call plays and be the head coach. I don't know. Be interesting to see. I think, I could see someone like that doing it if he found somebody that he really, really trusted. Someone that he felt like shared his exact same philosophy. So basically, he's just handing over the offense to a new guy that's going to do pretty much the same thing he was already doing. Allows him to maybe focus on other things. I don't know. We might as well call the end zone the dead zone. Man, this team continues to just struggle in the red zone, man. It is unbelievable. With the amount of talent that they have, especially wide, I just don't understand why the red zone is so hard. We talked about, just a few seconds ago, we talked about, genius type guys sometimes overthink stuff. And I think Sark is way overthinking this whole red zone stuff. The formations, the alignments, they're just not, they're bad. They make it easy on the defense. Why in the world would you get down inside the 10-yard line and take all of your talent off the field, your offensive skill talent, and put in a bunch of big, giant defensive linemen, stack everybody inside the hashes so the defense can now stack everybody inside the hashes and give them absolutely nothing to think about? Why would you do that? It's the most important part of the field. You just took all your skill guys off the field. I think in that situation, you spread the ball. I've never understood this whole, I got to get more big bodies in to run the ball. No, all you got to do to run the ball is create space. You can create space a couple different ways in football. You can do it the hard way, which is have enough bodies that can move people out of the way so there's space, or you can do it the easy way. And it's probably a combination of both ways, but the easy way to create space is to spread people out and make them defend the whole field. Sideline to sideline. And if they want to come in there and load the box up when you spread them out, okay, throw the ball. When you bring all these big bodies in there and stack it up like that, there's nothing to think about. It's not hard to defend at all. So then you're kind of falling back on way number one, which is just win every physical battle. which I think this team has proven like time and time again inside the red zone that it's not going to do. I won't say it's not capable of doing it. It's just not doing it, though. We've been pissing him on all season about playing 4 quarters. That was one of Sean's 4 big questions of the game. Can this team can they figure out a way to play 4 quarters of football against someone not named Alabama? And I felt like it was probably, again, this is drunk Sean talking here. I felt like it was probably the closest thing they've done to playing 4 quarters besides that Bama game. And look, I don't think playing 4 quarters means everything's perfect and there's not some mistakes and stuff like that. But I didn't feel like there was very many times during this game where there was just like a lull and there was nothing going on. Like the team was making plays pretty much from the time the game started till the time the game ended, is my drunk Sean sense. Now, I could be wrong. We'll find out tomorrow after I do the after action review, after I rewatch this game. Lots of guys banged up. Man, this team is like limping along right now. It's crazy. They had a bye week. That didn't really help them get healed up. They had a Houston game where they just got beat the hell up. A lot of guys getting up hurt, and a lot of guys walking off the field hurt the last few weeks for Texas. I don't know, man. They got to get healthy. They got a pretty rough stretch coming up. Officiating, man, is just I don't know when the Big 12 got together and decided that holding wasn't holding anymore. Or maybe they just call it like every 20th holding. I don't know. I don't know what the deal is. All I know is I watched the Texas defense, and this happens every single game. And folks, these are not just like tiny little hold things. These are like egregious, like dudes getting grabbed around the neck as they're trying to pass rush. There is no way on earth that if the officials are watching what's happening that they don't see it. And it's like 3 of the 4 guys every single pass play. There's no freaking way on earth that they don't see what's happening. And they just will not throw a flag. And then the dumbest part of it is you'll see them throw a flag for holding on something that has nothing to do with the play. And I know it's 2 different officiating crews, but I'm certain, I wouldn't say I'm certain, I would find it hard to believe if Texas hadn't had this crew that did the Kansas and Oklahoma game. But Kansas scored a touchdown late in that game that got called back for holding. And a couple things are wrong with it to me. Or not even wrong, just interesting. Like, if they're holding, throw a penalty. Like, just do it consistently, right? And I think that's where we're missing. That's where Big 12 officiating crews are missing the boat, is consistency. So Kansas runs this, I don't even know what play. I can't even remember the play. It was like a outside, may have been like a little option play or something like that. They get outside, they score a touchdown late in that game against Oklahoma. Gets called back for holding. It was holding, but it wasn't like egregious holding. Not only that, but it didn't even affect the outcome of the play. So just like, I don't know, man. Like, pick a way you're going to call the rules and be consistent with it. There is no way that those guys don't think what is happening to the Texas defensive line on pass rushes is not holding. There's no way. And if they do, they don't need to be officials. And people say, well, if they do that, then they'll throw a penalty every play. Well, throw a fucking penalty every play until they stop doing it. I don't know, man. Like, the answer to people won't follow the rules can't be not enforce the rules. They're incentivizing teams to, like, just completely, like, if I was a coach in the Big 12, I would I would tell my offensive lineman, hold. If you get beat, just grab the fuck out of the guy. 9 times out of 10, they're not calling it. All right, I'm off my officiating soapbox. Defense in this game was absolutely suffocating. One of my 4 big questions of the game, could the defense bounce back after 2 just pretty poor performances in a row? I think they answered that one. They played really well in this game. One of my 4 keys to the game on Friday when we did 4 keys in a prediction was the defense needed to get a quick start. I felt like they started fast. I felt like they finished fast, and I felt like they were fast in between. Like the defense just really did an outstanding job in this game. Multiple turnovers. Taft with a second with another pick, a second pick in the last 2 games. Someone on Twitter called him Blake Gideon with hands, respectfully. I thought that was pretty funny. I know Blake Gideon had some picks while he was at Texas, but he sure did drop one big one. And it sure was a gimme. Terrence Brooks has his first career pick. I believe Justice Finkley got a sack fumble. Lots of pressure on Slovis, despite the fact that the defensive linemen, again, were just getting mugged the entire game. They were great against the run. I mean, the Texas defense, like, just absolutely dominated BYU. I thought Sweat had another really good game. Jalen Ford had a really good game. Don't remember seeing a lot of breakdowns in coverage. I think it was really good to get Ryan Watts back. I mean, we talked about it at some point last week about Ryan Watts not being a guy that really flashes when he's on the field, but he just kind of does everything right, and he just does it consistently. I think there's something to be said for that. I mean, I think that's what you want. You want 11 guys that'll just go out and do their job consistently. And if the flash happens, the flash happens. But if we can just do our job consistently for 4 quarters, we should win. And I think that's what Ryan Watts is. BYU, obviously not a great offensive team. We knew that coming in. They couldn't run the ball coming in. Their passing numbers weren't that good coming in. But I still think this is a really good performance by the Texas defense, and I think it's the kind of performance that, you know, they're capable of. It was good to see them do that. Offense, kind of just like what we thought we'd see. Malik Murphy made some good throws. Malik Murphy made some bad throws. Turned the ball over a couple times. One thing I really thought was good about Malik Murphy's performances, it looks like he's always looking downfield. Even when he's under pressure, he keeps his eyes down the field, and he's not afraid to cut the ball loose at all. One of the things I see when I see Quinn Ewers play is I don't think he sees down the field, especially under pressure. He doesn't see down the field as well. And sometimes he's got players open and he just won't throw them the ball. I think you look at that throw to JT Sanders earlier in the game. And by the way, JT Sanders made one hell of a catch on that ball. Not only, I mean, if he would have done that against air, if that was just in warm-ups, that would have been a nice catch. But he took an absolute lick from the BYU safety. Didn't flinch. But if you saw the replay of that play, it was from behind, and there was 2 guys. There was a guy underneath and a guy over the top, and Malik Murphy just was like, I don't care. I trust my arm. Zipped it in there. Hell of a catch, by the way, again. That'll lead to turnovers. So I think it's good to have that confidence, but you also have to, you know, have the experience to say, that's a bad idea this time. And that'll come. The 2 turnovers he did have were rough, and I think if you expected anything other than that, then you just don't really understand football. But overall, for Malik Murphy, I thought it was a good start. Threw a couple touchdown passes. Kind of took what was there. I mean, I think if you're a Texas fan, you can't be upset with Malik Murphy about that start at all. But unfortunately, I know, being a Texas fan, that there are Texas fans out there that are already clamoring for some Arch Manning. We'll talk about that a little bit tomorrow. I thought the O-line was good. The running game seemed limited again. And I don't mean limited because they couldn't do it. I mean limited because the coach wouldn't call it. But they picked up yards on the ground. Pass protection seemed pretty good. I know Malik Murphy got pressured probably more than the 2 turnover plays, but those 2 turnover plays were a direct result of pressure. Adonai Mitchell with a really, really good game again. 2 touchdowns. I like his game, man. I wish they would use him down on the goal line. I think he's just a competitor. He's going to get the ball. And the second touchdown, neither one of the touchdowns that Murphy threw to him were all that accurate. But the second one was a really nice play to me because the ball was coming fast. It was a little bit behind, and Adonai Mitchell he just grabbed it up out of the air like it wasn't nothing, man. And that, I think he just competes for the ball. Please get that man isolated down in the goal line and just throw the ball up to him. 6'3", 205 pounds. Let him go jump. Let him go be athletic. That's why he's here, right? Worthy didn't get in the end zone on the offensive side at all. But man, he had some explosive plays. And what I really like about Worthy is his explosiveness after the catch on some of these short pass plays or these little hitch routes, these little screen type actions. Man, he gets it and goes. He's already busted some like that this year, but I think he'll have some more this year where you just get him the ball quick on the perimeter, he makes a guy miss, and he's gone. Running backs, man, this is such a talented running back room. A lot of discussion this week about getting different guys carries, and it's been that way all year. But there's just so much talent and only so many carries to go around. Brooks continues to be good. I mean, can't say nothing else, man. Brooks is killing it this year. I think Baxter went 2 games in a row without limping. I don't remember seeing him limping in this game, so that's exciting. Got us a Jaden Blue sighting. That's exciting for me. I've been pimping Jaden Blue, man. I was like, man, Jaden Blue, and I'll say it again, I still believe it. I think physically he might be the most gifted running back in this running back room. A lot of them are fast. A lot of them are quick. But there's not any of them, in my opinion, that are as fast and as sudden as Jaden Blue. He gets his first career touchdown. Congratulations to Jaden Blue. I know he's just not going to get a lot of carries. And it's not, I don't think it's anything he's necessarily doing wrong. Again, we don't see practice. We don't know what his attitude may be. We don't know, he may not be doing well in school. I don't know. None of us know any of that shit. All we can do is go, when he gets in the game, he does this. It's really good. Just not a lot of carries. Not a lot of carries to go around. But his speed is deadly, man. He made that run. And I'm sure, folks, BYU's probably not got a track team on defense. But he made that touchdown run look so easy. Don't envy Sark there in terms of having to figure out how to keep that group happy, everybody in that group happy. But I know I sure would love to see Jaden Blue get a few more carries, man. He is really, really good. Explosive. Special forces, man, I told y'all a few weeks ago that Xavier Worthy was going to bust a punt. And it finally happened. I just felt like, I mean, he had 2 earlier this year where he was 1 man away. And he gets a big punt return for a touchdown, 74, 75 yards, something like that, to get the scoring going for Texas. I thought it was a real big play because not only did he finally bust one and score, but I think in a game where you're starting your backup quarterback, it's really, really awesome for your quarterback to not really have a lot of success and have 7-0 lead. This Texas Special Forces unit just continues to show up big, man, and I think it's going to continue to do so for the rest of this season. A few random college football thoughts. This Oklahoma loss to KU was, for me, not unexpected. They struggled at home against Central Florida. They struggled on the road against Cincinnati. I know they played their ass off against Texas, and I know they won that game, and everybody was thinking, oh, man, here comes Oklahoma and Dylan Gabriel for Heisman and all that shit. Folks, sometimes the better team doesn't win a game. And I say that knowing full well Texas Longhorns have been on the other side of some of those, where they've probably beaten some teams. I know they've beaten some teams that they shouldn't have beat. That's kind of what the Red River Shootout's all about. We talked about that the whole week leading up to that game. It doesn't matter. Like, it doesn't matter who's ranked where. It doesn't matter who's favored to win this game. It's just that type of game where you got to show up. You got to be clean. Oklahoma was, Texas wasn't. And that was the difference in that game. But if you look at the whole of Oklahoma's year, yeah, they're 7-1 or 6-1, whatever it is, 7-1. But they have struggled in a lot of games this year, and to me, I just kind of knew. You just kind of looked at it and went, "That's going to come back to bite them." And it did against the KU team that we talked about before the season being a really dangerous team. Oklahoma's out of the top 10 in the coaches poll. They land at 10 in the AP poll. They got Bedlam coming up this weekend. Not a good time to lose if you're Texas. Or excuse me, if you're Oklahoma. Texas now controls its own destiny for the Big 12 title game berth. 5 teams sitting at the top of the Big 12 right now at 4-1. Texas has to play 2 of them, and the 2 that they don't have to play are playing this weekend. So this whole thing is going to work out. Really, for these 5 teams, it's just keep winning. So yeah, man, rough loss for Oklahoma. I don't know, man. I could have told you this was coming. Let's talk about rushing the field after games. I know this has been talked about other places, and I haven't really commented on it that much. But we've seen just way too many just incidents that have been ugly or incidents that could turn ugly. And I felt like I just wanted to talk about it. I just wanted to address it. You had the Ole Miss kid, some drunk kid in the Ole Miss LSU game climbing up on the freaking crossbar, doing a front flip off that damn thing. He could have broke his damn neck being a dumbass. You got these fan interactions on the, like, so rushing the field used to be, oh my God, I'm so excited. My team won a game they're not supposed to win. Let's go rush the field and celebrate with the team. That's what rushing the field used to be. It seems like more and more here lately, rushing the field has turned into let me run out on the field and with my camera going and act like a jackass to the opposing team's players so I can get some clout with my friends. That's what rushing the field means today. I need some social media clout. I need a few more clicks on my Insta. I need a few more clicks on my Twitter. I'm going to take a video of me and going and being a jackass. And there's so many examples over the, just here in the last couple years. But you go back, you look at LeGarrette Blount, that whole deal when he was at Oregon, punched a opposing fan because, and I am not by any means like defending LeGarrette Blount's act. Like he shouldn't do that. But the fact is, a fan came down there with the intent to run his mouth at him to get him to do something stupid, and LeGarrette Blount's stupid, and he obliged. You got the kid last year at the Tech game that runs up behind a Texas player, just fucking nails him in the back. I think there was an incident somewhat like this one that happened at the KU and Oklahoma game, and I think it was probably that Ole Miss and LSU game. Kids running out there with their camera, talking shit to the other team. You had this KU punk run up to an Oklahoma player, put the camera in his face, and put the loser sign in his face after the game. They've taken something that's supposed to be fun, and it's supposed to be a team thing. Go celebrate with your team. Be a part of your university. They've taken it from that and just turned it into just a bunch of insecure nerds that are like hopped up on Trulies and fucking Mike's Hard Lemonades. These jackasses have never played football. So they're trying to like force themselves into a situation where they don't belong and live vicariously through like, someone else's success. But they're such fucking idiots that they don't know how to do that. They don't know like how to just go and enjoy the moment. And I mean, if I rushed the field, like I would want to go like meet Texas players, like congratulate Texas players. I wouldn't give a shit about the other team. Anybody can go be an asshole and stick a camera in somebody's face, put the loser sign in their face, or try to goad them into punching them. Anybody can do that. How often are you going to get the chance to be out on the field for your team after a big win and celebrate with your actual team? The school's got to figure this out, man, because they got to get control of this, because it's gonna keep getting uglier and uglier and uglier. I mean, just think how dangerous it is to rush the field at most of these places. First, you got to get down out of the stands, and a lot of these places, you're talking like a 6, 7, 8 foot drop to the playing surface. And we've seen it. There was an incident, I believe, earlier this season. It might have been last season. Some kid tore their leg all kinds of the hell up because they landed on it weird, jumping out of the freaking stands. Then you got to think, like, once all these kids get down there on this playing surface and start rushing out into the field, like, somebody's going to get trampled. It's like that retarded, the stupid Baylor line thing they do where they line up all these kids and they haul ass across the field to run to their seats at home games. If the first person trips, like, they are getting smashed. And then, of course, there's the player interactions, which one of those is going to go bad for somebody one day. Especially the ones where these people get physical, and it happens a lot. It happens a lot where these kids, maybe even inadvertently, but they're all running around and banging into stuff and banging into, man, it's going to get bad. I don't know how the schools fix it. I don't get paid to fix it, so I don't think about it that much. I'm here to like bring up problems, not fix them. In an amazing display of leadership over the weekend, Coach Prime tells the media that he's just going to get a new O-line. Just get a new O-line, man. That's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make that happen, he says. We've talked about this. We talked about Colorado's trench warfare groups are not good. We knew it would be like that before the season. We were a little bit surprised at how well they held up earlier in the season. But as they got into this Pac-12 schedule, you really start to see the fact that they just don't have any bodies on the offensive or defensive line that can compete at this level. I don't know the stat lines, but it looked like Shadur Sanders probably got hit like every play in that game on Saturday against UCLA. We talked in our Trace Ultra Games predictions about that. UCLA's pass rush is very good, and they're going to bang Shadur Sanders up, and they did. So Prime just says, I'm just going to get some new O-linemen. First of all, Coach Prime, offensive linemen don't grow on trees. You can't just run down to the O-line store and pick out some good offensive linemen. That's not how it works. First, you got to get some talented kids signed. And then you got to get another class of talented kids signed because some of those talented kids ain't going to work out. So you got to have more than just one. You got to have more than 5. You really got to have about 10 really talented offensive linemen. You got to convince them not to go to Alabama, Georgia, Texas, LSU, Texas A&M, USC, Michigan, Ohio State, Florida State. You got to do that first. And then you got to get them on campus and develop them. And, man, I just don't know. I'm skeptical that Deion Sanders can even get them to come to school there. And that's not a dig on him necessarily. He's at Boulder, Colorado. Like, unless you're a snowboarder, I don't know why anybody on the planet would opt to go to school at Boulder, Colorado. Boulder, Colorado ain't a destination, folks. It's like a consolation. And then if he can get them there, I don't know that him and his staff can develop them. And I don't see how he's going to land anybody if all he ever does is talk about his sons and how good they are. And he wants to throw entire groups underneath the bus when things don't go right. Man, I get it, man. You're heated. You know exactly why you lost that game. Dude, this ain't the NFL, man. You're not dealing with professional players. Professional players that are in the NFL and have made it in the NFL can understand the game. They know the situation they're in. You're talking about a bunch of kids that you sold a bill of goods to get them to go there in the first place. And probably, for a lot of those kids, it wasn't hard to get them to go to Boulder. It was a step up from where they were at. And I know I keep going back to it, but this is the part the cultists do not get. The Deion cultists do not get that, A, Deion ain't a great coach. And B, even if he was, he still has to get players there, and he still has to develop them. I wish Deion all the luck in the world as he takes his shopping cart, goes on his Amazon Prime account, and fills his shopping cart up with offensive linemen for next year. Check us out on Tuesday, tomorrow. That'll be at noon. We'll have the after action review on the BY Cougars. See what Drunk Sean got wrong, what Drunk Sean got right. We'll have our Week 9 Trace Ultra Games recap. I think we went 3-0. I'm pretty sure we went 3-0. That's 2 weeks in a row. We'll talk about Texas fans and their never-ending need to make a quarterback controversy and how they just will not stop talking about Arch Manning. Check out the podcast anywhere you listen to podcasts. You can check us out on Twitter, TikTok, YouTube, at Horn Takes. Please follow and subscribe. Shoot me an email at horntakes.podcast@gmail.com with all your questions, comments, concerns, and criticisms. I love them all. You guys have a good Halloween Eve. Stay warm. It's cold where I'm at. Get hooked.